Was Alex Bregman the most impactful move made by any Major League Baseball team this offseason? Sure seems like it could be, as he made a big impression in his first week with the Red Sox.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Gabby Maljanian, former ESPN social media associate and current host of the Boston Balling podcast as well. And I'm here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox, Monday through Friday, straight to your favorite podcast feed. And it's all free. So continue to check it out, please, because Locked On is here for you every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $250 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. I'll tell you a lot more about FanDuel a little bit later on today's show, but happy Tuesday, coming off of a frustrating Red Sox loss last night against the Toronto Blue Jays, in which the bats were cold. I mean, it was quite literally a cold night in Boston, 38 degrees and rainy. I saw a bunch of people that were watching the game covered up in blankets. So definitely not the best weather to play baseball in, but the Red Sox just did not get a lot of offense going, just recorded 5 total hits as a team in the game. And not only that, but they also had some defensive miscues and errors on the base paths. So definitely not an ideal game for Boston, but hopefully they can bounce back tonight with Garrett Crochet on the hill. But Alex Bregman is somebody who has certainly made quite the impression in a Red Sox uniform, and that continued for him as he made his first week with the team memorable by winning American League Player of the Week last week. Officially on Monday, the news came out, but it was for that first week of baseball action. In the Red Sox first 6 games, he went 11 for 27, which is a .407 average with 2 home runs, 10 RBIs, 5 doubles, 7 runs scored, and 2 walks. He also amassed an .815 slugging percentage and a .448 on base percentage. I'm going to be talking a little bit more about that on today's show, as well as giving an update on Brayan Bello and some recent roster moves that the Red Sox made. So when it comes to Alex Bregman, I mean, talk about making some noise. The 31-year-old also led Major League Baseball with 7 extra base hits during the first week of the season. His 22 doubles were tied for league lead, while his RBI ranked second. He capped off his strong week with a 4-for-5 outing with 6 RBIs, 2 doubles, and a 3-run homer, which was his first one at Fenway Park against the Cardinals on Sunday night in that historic, dominant 18-7 win. So that marked the first time that a Red Sox hitter had at least 4 hits and 6 RBIs since Ceddanne Rafaela drove in 7 runs with 4 hits on April 27th of last year. Bregman has always had a lot of success hitting at Fenway Park over the course of his career with the Astros, a .325 average with a 1.013 OPS, and that trend continued in Boston's home opener last week against the Cardinals when he went 2 for 4 with a walk and 2 runs. So he just has always hit really well at Fenway, which is one of the biggest reasons why I was really excited that the Red Sox got him. And also, not to mention that not only does he hit well at Fenway, but he continues to just show a lot of off the field leadership for this Boston Red Sox team. Even small things like buying suits for the top prospects in the Red Sox system, or traveling with them on the bus during spring training to go to another spring training facility to play another team. I mean, he just continues to exert a lot of leadership and wisdom onto some of these younger players. So was he the most impactful move that any team made this offseason? I'm inclined to feel like yes, because obviously you take a look around the league and teams made big moves. You look at the Dodgers and they made a ton of moves, but because of how many moves they made this offseason, can you really pinpoint one player who is the biggest difference maker that they acquired this past offseason? I mean, you could say Juan Soto to the Mets was a huge acquisition for them. But the problem with that was because of how much money they spent on Soto, they couldn't really use money on other players. So it really limited their ability to fully improve their roster this offseason. So then you look at the Red Sox, a team that missed the playoffs last year and finished an even 81 and 81. They get Alex Bregman, and all of a sudden they're in the conversation to potentially win the division after they already acquired Garrett Crochet this offseason. So you look at both of those players as being impactful, but when you look at overall what Alex Bregman brings to the table between being a really historically good hitter at Fenway Park to even just the impression that he made early on, being able to make some really nice plays defensively for this team, even in the opening series against Texas when the Red Sox were not playing very good baseball and the bats hadn't fully woken up yet, but he was still making some really fine plays at third base. So making a difference on both sides of the ball on the field, but also being a true team leader off of it, having a smile on his face all the time, keeping that camaraderie high in the clubhouse. And I saw when I was at the game on Sunday night that he was just lifting people up. When guys would come back into the dugout, he would be the first one to give them a high five, or he would be the first one that was out there cheering if somebody hit a home run. It was cool to see the way that he was supporting these guys. And if somebody does something big in a game, he's always there to just lift them up and keep their spirits high. And that's the type of player that you want on your favorite baseball team. You want somebody who's a true leader, who understands the hardships of being involved in Major League Baseball and what it takes to really make it at that level. You want a guy who's going to go out there and show that he has that experience and show that he's not afraid of pressure and he's not afraid of the big moments. And that is where he excels. Now, granted, there have been a few times already this season where he's come up to the plate in a big spot and he hasn't been able to execute. I would like to see him do that a little bit more, but it's still so early on in the season and he's already starting to show that dominance that he has portrayed at Fenway Park over the course of his career. And this whole player of the week thing is pretty cool because Kyle Tucker, another former teammate of his, won National League Player of the Week. So it's just kind of funny that two former Astros players won it. And what's really fun about all of that is that both the Cubs and the Red Sox are enjoying the guys that they acquired this offseason that the Astros formerly had. So while it's tough for Astros fans to look at and say, wow, two of our former players just won Player of the Week in their respective leagues, for us, it's really beneficial. And you can make the argument that there are a lot of impactful players that teams brought in this offseason. You could say that the Yankees bringing in Max Fried was an impactful move. But when you look at most impactful, Bregman really changed the conversation for what the Red Sox could be heading into 2025. And that was the biggest indicator to me that he is the most impactful move, because this was a team that was being talked about as a potential playoff team heading into the season after they acquired Crochet, but there were still concerns about their lineup and who was going to be able to produce consistently on offense. And then they bring in Alex Bregman, and the conversation is, wow, the Red Sox are a serious threat to win the division. So he won American League Player of the Week in his first week with the team, which is very exciting. On Monday, when the Red Sox bats were cold and nobody was really hitting, he did record one hit, and it was a pretty strong hit off the wall. So he did contribute, but just not a lot of hits to go around for this Red Sox team in general. Duran went 2 for 3 in the game, but other than that, not a lot of standout moments for the Boston Red Sox in their 6-2 loss. And the biggest thing for me is it's still early and the offense is going to have nights where they're not going to be able to hit. And it was honestly pretty predictable given the fact that they had scored 18 runs the night before. So going from 18 runs to 2 runs, that's baseball. You never know what you're going to get on any given night. But Alex Bregman winning this honor of American League Player of the Week, hopefully that continues to help boost his motivation to really want to go out and continue to win with this Boston Red Sox team heading into next season. So I'm rooting for him. I hope he has a big rest of the season and he can lead the Red Sox to a deep postseason run. And coming up, I'm going to be talking about another guy who could play a part in leading the Red Sox to a championship this year. The NBA playoffs are almost here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. I love how FanDuel makes betting so easy, whether it's picking my favorite team or diving into player props. From 3-pointers to steals to assists, FanDuel has so many ways to bet your favorite player props. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine live prop bets into a same-game parlay for a chance to win big. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. FanDuel is a great way to win lots of money. My husband uses it all the time. Ever since he started using it, he's been completely hooked. So that can be you next. Just don't say I didn't warn you because, hey, you never know. You could win life-changing money. So download the app today and start betting on your favorite sports. The Red Sox are in win mode. They are in championship mode right now. They have those types of aspirations. The front office addressed things this offseason with that type of approach. Hey, we want to win. We are tired of messing around and we want to build a winning team. And one of their biggest acquisitions was Alex Bregman, who just won American League Player of the Week because he just makes such a big impact at Fenway Park and he has just always hit really well there throughout the course of his career. So when the Red Sox came home for their first home series of the season, it was a pretty obvious choice that Bregman would get that honor because of the crazy numbers that he had been putting up for the Boston Red Sox at home. But not only that, but even on the road, he was starting to contribute and his bat started to warm up a little bit earlier than some of the other players in the top of the lineup. So he deserved it. I'm very happy for him. And he's somebody who the Red Sox are going to need to continue to step up throughout the course of the season. And another player who falls under that category of needing to have a good season is Brayan Bello. Now, Brayan Bello has not gotten to pitch in a game yet, but he did make his second rehab start for the Worcester Red Sox on Sunday. He struck out 4 batters in the team's 3-2 loss to the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp. He's currently on the injured list with a right shoulder injury, so it was known that he was going to start the season on the IL, and he tossed 3 1/3 innings, giving up 4 hits, 1 earned run, and a walk. He threw 34 of his 56 pitches for strikes and reached 98.3 miles per hour on the radar gun. The Woo Sox had a 2-0 lead at one point in that game thanks to an RBI double from Sebi Zavala that scored Nathan Hickey before Trace Thompson's 4th inning single led to him scoring later in the inning on a passed ball. The Red Sox had guys who have gone down to Worcester and come back up and then gone back down. And a lot of times guys who go back down to Worcester end up finding their groove and then they come back up and they play better than ever. And I'm hoping that with Bello doing these rehab starts in Worcester, hopefully being able to get that arm ready to go by the time he does come up, that he's in dominant form. Now, I am planning on going to a couple games during this Woo Sox upcoming homestand so I can catch up with Brayan Bello, then get a sense for how he's feeling and let you know on a future episode of the show. But Alex Cora hasn't given a timeline yet as to when he will specifically be coming back. I think they're trying to just take it day by day still and see how he feels during the course of the rest of his rehab starts. But we need a big season from Bello this year when he does come back for multiple reasons. One, because Walker Buehler has not been performing up to the level that the Red Sox had hoped he would. And that also goes for Tanner Houck. The Red Sox were hoping that Houck could be a reliable number 2 starter behind Garrett Crochet, but so far he hasn't been that effective to that level yet in the couple starts that he has made so far this season. And going into the season, people were hoping that Walker Buehler could be a solid number 3, that it would go Crochet, Houck, Buehler. But so far, Buehler hasn't shown that ability to be a consistent number 3 because he has been getting hit pretty hard so far in the starts that he has made. Now, obviously, there's time for him to get going and be able to fall into form. But for right now, because of the fact that his fastball is getting hit pretty hard, it's hard to feel confident in him to turn things around. So because of that, I'm now looking at Walker Buehler to be a serviceable 4 or 5 starter, a guy who can hopefully eat innings and start to pitch deeper than 5 innings worth into games. And even if he's not super sharp every time, we need it to get to the point where that can be okay because he's looked at as a back end starter. Whereas you look at a guy like Tanner Houck, who's supposed to be a front end starter, and he's been a little bit inconsistent in that regard. Brayan Bello struggled in the first half of the season last year, but was able to bounce back in the second half and started pitching a lot better because he changed his approach on the mound a little bit. So are we going to get second half Brayan Bello? That's exactly what we need this year, because what'll happen is if Bello comes back and he is struggling just like Houck and Buehler, then you really just have Crochet and then everybody else. And Lucas Giolito, we don't really know what we're going to get from him because it's been a while since he's actually pitched in a major league game to begin with. So it's hard to really know where in that rotation he can be placed. So because there's a question mark with him, Walker Buehler is a question mark because we don't know if he's going to be able to turn things around or not from the struggles that he's had in the early going here. Then Tanner Houck, who has struggled a little bit from the get-go. That's another player who we don't really know what version of him we're going to get for the rest of the season, because he did start to struggle in the second half last year after having a really good and effective first half. So when I started to see those struggles from him in the second half of the season, I worried that that would carry over into this year. And a little bit of that has carried over into this season so far. So I'm hoping he can turn it around. Tanner Houck has a really good raw ability. Some of his pitches still are not great, though, for him to be able to utilize in games. He doesn't have the best control over all of his pitches, and some of them are more hittable than others, and he needs to continue to work on that. But I do know what Tanner Houck is capable of, and what he's capable of is a lot better than how he's pitching now. So I'm inclined to hold out hope that he can turn things around, because we do need him to step up a little bit more than he is. And the pressure is 100% on Brayan Bello, who, when he got to the Red Sox and they continued to develop him through their system and he was continuing to find success, that was a player that the Red Sox had high hopes for. And they liked a lot of what they saw in him. He was a guy who had a really strong fastball, and he definitely still does. And he can generate solid, soft contact with that fastball, is a big ground ball generator, doesn't get a ton of swing and miss stuff. So that's what I'm going to be looking out for this upcoming season, is can he get more swings and misses? But the reality is that the Red Sox need somebody to fill into that number 3 slot, and even that number 2 slot, because Tanner Houck hasn't been pitching well enough lately to be able to confidently say that he's the number 2 behind Crochet. That spot is still up for grabs. And I'm looking at Brayan Bello to be that guy if Houck and Buehler can't start to pitch a little bit more effectively. So that's tough for him to come back from an injury and have to be expected to step into a role like that, where the Red Sox are looking for him to be a front end rotation guy, because yes, it's great that they have their number one in Garrett Crochet, but it's going to be very difficult to win a playoff series if you don't also have a solid number two and a good number three behind them. Because if you just have your number one who's consistently reliable, then everybody else could completely fold. And then your team is stuck having to have an offensive powerhouse every night, which the Red Sox do have. But there are going to be nights where the Red Sox have their offense go cold. For example, on Monday night against the Blue Jays, the bats are not always going to be on point every time, and you're going to need your pitching to step up. So I'm looking for Brayan Bello to hopefully be able to get his off-speed stuff a little bit more on par with what the Red Sox need it to be, because what happened in the second half of the season last year was he started to utilize his fastball a lot more, and that got him back on track. So I do expect him to utilize the fastball at a more frequent rate than his other pitches when he comes back, but he's going to have to mix in some of that off-speed stuff because it's going to be really hard for him to maintain a high level of competitiveness every start if he's pitching the fastball at a consistently higher rate than everything else every single start, because that becomes predictable and opposing batters are going to figure him out very quickly. So I'm actually excited to see what Bello brings to the table. I'm hoping that this injury has him come back better than ever, but hopefully he's utilizing these rehab starts to get himself to a level of being able to be consistent and be able to utilize lots of different pitches and feel good about it, because that's what Andrew Bailey wants from him, is more of the off-speed stuff going into this year. So can he slot into that number two or number three starting role? Certainly that's what we're hoping for. There's definitely a high ceiling there with Bello. I just don't think we have fully seen the true pitcher that he can be yet, because he's had some struggles and setbacks now with this injury. So hopefully he can come in and be dominant, because then he could be looked at as a frontline starter behind Garrett Crochet. So we'll have to see what happens with that. But coming up, the Red Sox did make a couple more roster moves, and I'm going to be going over those next. When it comes to fueling your body, quality matters. That's why Just Ingredients is changing the game with clean, high-quality products designed to support better health and peak performance. Just Ingredients offers an NSF-certified line of protein powder, electrolytes, pre-workout, and creatine, all rigorously tested to ensure they're free from substances banned by major athletic organizations. Just Ingredients has also partnered with two-time MVP Bryce Harper, who trusts their NSF-certified sports line to fuel his training and recovery. I love that Just Ingredients prioritizes wholesome, nourishing ingredients without the artificial junk. Whether you're recovering after a workout or need an energy boost, their grass-fed whey protein and pre-workout deliver real results. Visit justingredients.us and use code LOCKEDONMLB for 20% off. And for more wellness tips, follow at just.ingredients on Instagram. I've been utilizing their pre-workout a lot and I love it. So make sure that you invest in Just Ingredients today. Just a heads up that I am going to be recording a separate video talking about Jarren Duran and what he opened up about in the new Netflix documentary that has come out today, by the way. So be sure to check all of those episodes out of the Clubhouse, a year with the Boston Red Sox. So I have a separate video that I'm going to be recording on that. So make sure that you check that out on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. As the Boston Red Sox continue to navigate through their season, they did make some recent roster moves. On Monday, they traded pitcher Quinn Priester to the Milwaukee Brewers. I went over all about that trade on yesterday's show, but Priester was on the Red Sox 40-man roster, so him getting traded cleared up a 40-man roster spot. So to fill that spot on the roster, they selected Robert Stock from AAA, and fellow righty Cooper Criswell was optioned back down to AAA to open an active roster spot. The Sox had that 40-man vacancy after trading Quinn Priester, and Criswell had been struggling in his first few outings of the season with the Red Sox, so they're hoping that getting back down to AAA and getting some more reps in can kind of get him back on track for him to hopefully be called back up at some point. So Stock got into Monday night's game, which was his first big league appearance in years. He pitched in the bigs from 2018 to 2021, but has been away from the show since then. During that previous stretch in the majors, he pitched for the Padres, Red Sox, Cubs, and Mets. He tossed 72 and 2/3 innings, allowing 4.71 earned runs per 9 innings. He struck out 23.1% of batters faced, gave out walks to 12.2% of opponents, and got grounders on 49.8% of balls in play. He has continued playing baseball since then, traveling over the globe. In 2022, he made 29 starts for the Doosan Bears in the KBO League in Korea, posting a 3.60 ERA. He was back in North America in 2023, having signed a minor league deal with the Brewers, but he got lit up in 23 innings, posting an 8.22 ERA before getting released and landing in indie ball. He pitched for Tecos de los Dos Laredos of the Mexican League last year, putting up a 3.38 ERA in 98 and 2/3 innings over 19 starts. He then hung around in Mexico for winter ball, playing for Naranjeros de Hermosillo. He tossed 84 1/3 innings in 14 starts for that club with a 1.60 ERA, prompting the Red Sox to sign him to a minor league deal in January. He logged 3 spring training innings for the Red Sox, allowing 4 earned runs over those 3 innings. He then reported to AAA Worcester, tossing 8 1/3 scoreless innings over 1 start and 1 long relief appearance. For the Sox, Saturday's game against the Cardinals was postponed by the weather, forcing a Sunday doubleheader. And the Red Sox ended up winning both games of the doubleheader, but one went to 10 innings, and they used 9 pitchers on the day overall. Criswell threw the final 3 innings of the nightcap and likely wouldn't have been available for the next few days anyway because of that. So he got sent down because he did struggle, although his defense behind him did not help him at all. I will say that for sure. Innings should have been over well before it was when he was pitching in Sunday's game and also in the home opener on Friday. So that's definitely a factor, but he also just didn't have his best stuff. So with the bullpen fairly taxed right now, Stock has been added to give the bullpen an extra guy who's capable of throwing multiple innings. If another fresh arm is needed in the coming days, Stock is out of options. That means he would have to be bumped off the 40-man roster in order to be removed from the active roster. So he's a guy that the Red Sox said, why not? Looks pretty good in AAA, so let's call him up. He got into the game on Monday, a 6-2 Red Sox loss. He threw 2 innings, giving up 3 hits and 1 earned run, and he walked 1. Overall, he looked decent. Definitely a guy who has some good stuff in there, but would like to see him expand his arsenal a little bit more, at least from what I saw. Really small sample size. Again, he's back with the Red Sox and is hoping to make a good impression, but I'm seeing this as a temporary call up for him. I don't think he's somebody who's really going to stick around at this point. I think eventually, once the Red Sox main guys come back, he'll probably be a guy that goes back down to AAA, but he definitely provides value in the sense of the fact that he can pitch more than 1 inning, which is super valuable for a team that doesn't want to tax its bullpen. So that's definitely the main purpose for him being with the Boston Red Sox right now. And he was able to eat a couple of innings in Monday's game, which is really good because the Red Sox don't have an off day this week. So Robert Stock, a guy who was activated and joined the Red Sox for their home series on Monday night. And also Hunter Dobbins was sent back down to AAA. That was expected, though, because he was an extra player, because for a doubleheader, you get an extra 27th man to add to the roster. And he was that 27th man, made his debut on Sunday night, but will primarily be pitching in Worcester's rotation. So that was expected. So the main moves there were Stock getting called up to take Priester's spot on the 40-man roster and being part of the active major league roster, and them sending Cooper Criswell down as a result of that. So that was the first big move. But also on Monday night, Connor Wong took a pretty hard hit to the hand, causing a fractured left pinky finger. So he is now headed to the injured list. It was George Springer's bat. He was actually called for catcher's interference, and on that same play, Springer's bat got him and his hand was starting to swell up and it did not look fun to watch. And then he had to be taken out of the game and Carlos Narvaez came in his place. So there's no timetable for his return, but he will be on the IL for now trying to recover. So as a result, the Red Sox do plan to promote Blake Sabol to take his spot on the roster. He's 5 for 20 with the Woo Sox in 6 games. That also includes 5 walks and 5 strikeouts, which gives him a .400 on base percentage. He's definitely known for his offense, and he can also provide depth at left field and at first base because he has played those 2 positions also. But he is a rough blocker behind the plate. So defensively, he hasn't been up to standard with what you kind of need to be in Major League Baseball, but he is more known for his bat. So that's something that could benefit the Red Sox that he provides is hopefully some good offense. Narvaez has definitely been more of a surprise offensively than we thought because going into the season, we knew that Carlos Narvaez was known a little bit more for his defense and wasn't the strongest hitter, but he has definitely been hitting and he has brought his A game defensively. So there's definitely a lot of different things that Narvaez brings to the table. Sabol, not as good defensively, kind of like Connor Wong, although Connor Wong's defense seems to have slightly improved this year. But Sabol, don't expect a lot offensively from him. So that's the next move that will be happening. Hopefully Connor Wong recovers soon and we can get him back out there. But excited to see what happens with some of these newbies. Excited to see Bregman continue to hopefully crush it after getting this AL Player of the Week honors. Excited to see what happens with the returns of Brayan Bello and Lucas Giolito, and excited to see Robert Stock continue to pitch and see if he stays up with the Red Sox or if they send him back down to AAA at any point. But lots of things to be excited about with this Red Sox team. Let's hope they can get back on track tonight. Like I always say, keep the faith, go Red Sox, and I'll catch you on the flip side.